So I'm going to go through a few things that I think is going to be really, really helpful because like I told you before, knowing your porosity is where your routine gets real, especially if you are dealing with dryness. Okay, porosity is all about the moisture. It's all about the water retention. So porosity, basically what it means is your hair's ability to absorb and retain moisture. So it doesn't matter the type of fancy products you buy, how much money you're spending on products. At the end of the day, only the right habits will help your hair to become more moist. Moisturized hair means length retention. Length retention means we see the growth. So many of the ladies that I work with are concerned about hair growth and hair loss. And many times it's not that we have a hair loss issue, we have a length retention issue, which means our hair is so dry and unhealthy and undernourished and all of these things that we're not seeing the actual growth that our hair gives us naturally, especially when we get to a certain age. Okay, things definitely get to change, and things definitely start to change, and this is the thing that nobody really prepares us for, is how our hair changes after we reach a certain age. Very much so, you might notice that your hair feels drier, thinner, or more prone to breakage than it used to be, because as we age, our scalp naturally produces less oil. And then you have your hormones, the added stress, and the history of protective styling that many of us did in our younger ages. And suddenly that luscious, moisturized hair is now feeling more like a dry sponge. Real solution is not buying all the products, buying every product on the shelf. It's really about understanding your porosity. So you are more than halfway there just by knowing that much. Okay. I'm going to focus more on low porosity hair because remember, your hair has cuticles or cuticle layer. So the cuticle layer is like shingles on a roof. Okay. The more tightly packed those cuticles are, the harder it is for water to get in. So when we have low porosity hair, we have to use heat. Heat is what opens those cuticles to let water in. If we're not incorporating heat, most of the time when we do our moisture routine or our hydrating routine, then the water is just going to sit there on top, okay? Which makes it more difficult for oils to penetrate. But the good thing with low porosity hair, if you get those cuticles open and the water gets in, it stays put. You've noticed that when you get products or you use products, they just kind of sit on top, or they're not blending in, or your hair takes forever to get fully wet when you're shampooing it, or it takes forever to dry when you're done shampooing it. If you feel like the products that you use are leaving a greasy residue, it has like a waxy or coated texture, then again, that's how you know for sure you have low porosity hair and those products aren't penetrating. Okay. Now that's a total opposite of high porosity hair. I'll cover that quickly. Same thing. You have the cuticle layer, but with high porosity hair, the cuticles are more open. And you would think that's a good thing, but not necessarily, because the water, as quickly as it gets in to penetrate the hair strand, is as quickly as it also leaves. Okay. So people with high porosity have an entire different set of problems. And most of the time we get high porosity hair because of chemical damage, heat damage. Is usually some type of damage to the hair that damages the cuticle, which causes it to be open. Okay. When you're using your products, you always want to do lightweight water-based products first, okay? Because you don't want too many thick, heavy, or creamy products, because it's going to be hard for it to penetrate through those cuticle layers. Okay. Again, knowing your porosity is very important. This is like the number one thing when it comes to your moisture. Porosity also helps you keep from overdoing it with the wrong stuff, because remember, if you have high porosity hair and you're constantly using products and it seems like they're not working, okay, so we buy a product and it looks like it's not working, and then we buy something else because that one didn't work, and then we use this one and that one isn't working either. Okay. We end up over moisturizing or overdoing it. Okay. And then we're overspending on stuff that we really don't need. We just need to understand what it is our hair is asking for. So we don't need to make the routine longer or more difficult. Actually, if you want to get super, super simple, water and oil is really all your hair requires to be moisturized. Okay. If you want to get fancy, you can make you a little water-based hydration mist with just some aloe vera juice or aloe vera gel with a little bit of water. Spray your hair down, sit under a dryer, let that penetrate your hair shaft, and then seal it with an oil, a simple olive oil that you probably already have in your kitchen. I tell women all the time, you don't need to buy anything. Most of the stuff we need for our hair, we already have in our home, in our bathroom, or in our kitchen. We have what we need. Okay, so if you want to get super simple, two products will provide an adequate amount of moisture. Now we get fancy with all of the creams and the butters and the things like that, you know, because it feels good. It feels like a luxury experience. They smell good. They ignite our senses. Okay. And those things are fine. But again, you really don't have to have them. Okay. They are definitely a luxury for many of us. The difference between hydration and moisture. Hydration is a product, moisture is a process. We have to be careful when buying products that say they moisturize our hair. Okay, remember the hair care industry and hair care products are not regulated. So many times they use words like moisturizing, hydrating, list specific ingredients, oils and butters, and talk about all of these things, when in reality, moisture is not a product. Moisture is the process of hydrating your hair and sealing in that hydration. That creates moisture. Okay. And oil does not moisturize. I think I mentioned that also. You cannot moisturize your hair with just oil. Oil seals in water, or it seals in the hydration. It does not provide the hydration. Now, there are products that contain water and oil. I actually make a moisture cream that contains mostly water and it also has oils in it. So that would be technically a moisturizing product. But even still, I would encourage women to wet their hair first before even using that. The more water you can get into your hair, the better. Okay, especially when you're using styling creams and those kinds of things. All right. The more you can use water-based products, the better your hair is going to love it. So yes, gels. And I am the same way. Low porosity hair usually does better with water-based gels. Just again, be careful because they can contain a lot of alcohol, which could dry your hair out, okay, which is counterproductive. So the right way to hydrate and lock in moisture, again, you want to target your ends first. Remember, your ends are the oldest part of your hair. That's where the dryness and the breakage typically sneak in. It's from the ends. That's why you end up with split ends. That's why you end up with breakage that starts from the mid shaft down, is because that's where your breakage tends to start, on the oldest parts of your hair, which is usually the weakest and the most vulnerable for those types of things. Okay, so you want to mist your hair lightly. You don't want to drown it. It shouldn't be dripping or drenched. It should just be soft and juicy. Okay, you just want juicy hair, not dripping wet hair. That's your step one for moisturizing. Okay, and then the sealing part. So once you have hydrated your hair, you have to trap in that goodness before it dips out of there. Okay, you want to trap it in, especially if you have low porosity hair. So we don't want to use any oil that's too heavy. Still stick with light things like jojoba oil, rice bran oil, sweet almond oil, olive oil. Those things are going to be good. Now, if you have low porosity hair, but your hair is really, really thick and really typically on the drier side, then it's okay. You can use a thicker oil like a castor oil or avocado, something like that. And maybe even a little bit of shea butter will be good as well. If you do use creams, don't use a lot and make sure you work it through your hair really, really well. Okay. I'm sure you probably heard of the LCO or the LOC method. So the L is for liquid, the C is for cream, the O is for oil. That was like a really popular thing. It started a few years ago. It's still a very valid process. It's still a very valid process or method to moisturize your hair. For me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Select the process that you feel good about or that you feel makes a difference for your hair. But whether I do liquid, then cream, then oil, or liquid, then oil, then cream, I still get the same. I still get the same results. Okay. You can substitute the cream for gel. So you can do a liquid like your hydrating mist or a water-based mist. And then you can do your cream or your gel and then oil. So the oil, we still need the oil to seal in the moisture, even if you do use a gel. And again, you have to be careful because sometimes once you put oil on top of gel, you get that white sticky film. So everything in moderation. Okay. So if after you've done your moisture routine and your hair still feels dry or feels greasy, then you probably did not add enough water. Right? So use gentle heat. When you're getting that hydration into your cuticles, you want to use gentle heat. You don't need to sandblast your hair with the blow dryer or sit under a steamer that's 400 degrees or a hooded dryer that's 400 degrees. Okay, low heat is fine. That'll be enough. Even a hot towel wrap if you have shorter hair, even a steam cap. I think we have some of those left on the website. Those things work great. Okay, way your conditioner or your deep conditioning process can actually work. Now you can do that. You can do this when you're conditioning your hair also. You don't have to do this every time. Every time would be great, but when you do your conditioning step on wash day, it's good to get those cuticles open to get that conditioner inside. Okay, a lot of those conditioners have some really good ingredients that are beneficial to your hair health, and you want to make sure all of that, as much of that, is penetrating as possible. When you're searching for products, make sure your moisturizers have water as the first ingredient. Okay, or your hydration products have water as the first ingredient, or even things like glycerin, honey, aloe vera. Those are still good as well. Okay. Again, stick to lightweight oils. You should not be doing castor oil on your hair every day. All right. Some of my customers are telling me about how much they use castor oil and swear by castor oil and then wonder why their hair is breaking. Okay. Castor oil is good in moderation, and I always recommend castor oil at the scalp level only. I don't recommend putting castor oil on your hair unless you have a specific texture or a specific porosity, because it can tend to be a little bit heavy. Although it is very good for your hair because it does absorb, your hair does absorb castor oil pretty well. The problem with many of us is that we're heavy-handed. We are heavy-handed, honey. We think that if we use more, it works faster. If we use more, it works better. And that is not always the case. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention is clarifying shampoos. We talk about sulfates being bad. Sulfates are only bad if you use them every time you wash your hair. Sulfates are great, especially to rinse away any excess residue, specifically for my ladies with low porosity hair, because sometimes we don't realize how much stuff has built up on top of our hair strands and in our scalp. A good clarifying treatment maybe once every few months or more recently, especially if you know that you've been using a lot of products or you've been doing a lot of trial and error, buying a lot of stuff. You want to do those clarifying treatments to get rid of that excess product buildup. Okay. Also, protein. A lot of times we think our hair needs a lot of protein. It does not, especially if you have low porosity hair. Doing protein treatments is fine. I would recommend maybe once every 3-4 months. You don't probably even need it that often. Protein treatments are better for those that have high porosity hair because it helps to kind of strengthen that cuticle layer. If you have low porosity hair, your cuticle layer is usually pretty strong. Protein treatments are okay just to help to keep the healthy balance, but you don't want to overdo it. So if you're trying to regrow your hair, you need some help with growth. Okay. This is what you're going to do, because low porosity hair can be strong, but if it's too dry or product clogged, it will break fast. All right. So here's how we support growth when we have low porosity hair. We want to moisturize regularly. Deep condition with heat. I mentioned that. use slip when detangling. So make sure you have your hair is nice and wet with lots of conditioner in it when you're detangling, so that you get a nice little slip and you're not causing additional damage or breakage. Sleep with your satin or silk bonnets and silk pillowcases at night. Okay, occasional heat styling is okay. Just don't overdo it. Just be consistent. You don't have to switch up everything too much. Your hair likes consistency just like the rest of your body does. Okay, stick with what your hair loves and you will see the results of the growth. This is one that I know that probably has messed a lot of us up going inside beauty supply stores or the hair care aisle or even shopping online. Okay, I get a lot of requests from ladies asking me or telling me that they bought this specific name brand shampoo online. Can I take a look at it and tell them if it works, if it will work for their hair or if it's good? Okay. The thing we need to invest in is understanding how to read ingredient labels. You just need to understand a few simple things. And so I want to teach you that really quick. Because like I said before, you can get a product that says moisturizing on the front, but it leaves your hair still dry or flaky or greasy. The marketing will tell you what the marketing wants you to believe. It's not what's always true. All right. So I want you to learn how to flip that bottle over and read those labels because the ingredients matter. So now that you understand that you can simplify your routine based on your porosity, I want you to understand that your moisture is going to start with the right ingredients. It doesn't matter how expensive or how cheap a product is. It's only going to be as good as the first 5 to 7 ingredients, okay? Because that's going to tell you everything you need to know about that product. So when you're looking at that pretty bottle of cream or leave-in conditioner, or you seeing that post on Facebook where somebody is showing you how pretty their hair is because they've used this new cream or gel, the first thing you need to say to yourself is, what's in it? What's in that? And if somebody's trying to sell you something online, there's a lot of small businesses, no shade to small businesses. You should be able to ask the owners those questions. So what's in it? Or what's the first few ingredients? Or what's the effective ingredients in it? And you're not trying to steal their formula or their formulation, but they should be able to give you at least, a few ingredients that's really their signature ingredients or what's really expected to help you with the growth or the moisture or whatever it is your goal is, right? So you don't just read the promise, you read the recipe. The promise is on the front, the recipe is on the back. The recipe is going to tell you exactly what you need to know. The ingredient types that you need to be aware of are these. And so you may want to write these down, okay? The first one is your humectants. Okay, these are your hydration heroes. These actually pull water from your environment or from the air into the hair from your products. Okay, so these are things like glycerin, aloe vera, honey, panthenol, sorbitol, and sodium PCA. There's more, but these are the main ones that you will probably likely see in most products. So we want these because they're good for leave-ins, hydration mist, curl refreshers, okay? And these are especially good in humid environments. And you definitely want humectants. Those are going to work in your favor. If you're in a super dry climate, then you want to stay away from humectants because they can actually pull the water out of your hair, okay? So if you're living in a humid area, use that to your advantage and purchase some, look for ingredients with humectants. The second one is emollients. So these provide softness and slip. They make your hair feel smooth and soft, and they help with detangling and combing. So these are going to be mostly your oils and butters. Okay, I mentioned jojoba oil, avocado, olive, coconut oil, cetyl alcohol. Not all alcohols are bad. Some alcohols are fatty alcohols that are actually good for your hair. and cetyl alcohol is one of those. Now, these are great for reducing friction and preventing breakage. Okay, if it's something that you see a lot of ingredients that you can't pronounce, or you Google it and you still don't know what the heck it is, you probably should stay away from it. And then the last one is the occlusives. These are your sealers. These are going to be your ingredients that trap the hydration in by forming a barrier. The next one is what to watch out for. Okay, so there are some ingredients that we don't want too much of. Now, we can't avoid these because they're going to be in most of the ingredients that we find, but we don't want to have an overload of these, okay? Because they can also mess with your moisture. So we talked about alcohols. There's good alcohols and there's bad ones. The ones that are bad because they tend to dry your hair out, okay? They can suck moisture right out of your strands. So these are your ethanols, your isopropyl alcohol, your SD alcohol. Again, better alternatives are going to be cetyl alcohol, stearyl alcohol. These are moisturizing. And then also we want to stay away from too much protein. Protein is great, like I said, but in moderation. So if your hair is dry and brittle, too much protein can make it worse. All right. So hydrolyzed keratin, that's a protein, collagen, silk protein, rice protein. We want to stay away from those. So if you're already using like a protein heavy shampoo or treatment, then avoid also laying on multiple protein rich products in the same wash day. So you don't need to have a protein shampoo, a protein conditioner, a protein gel, a protein cream, a protein mist. You don't need all of that. Okay. Especially if your hair is already dry and brittle. Protein is just going to make it worse. Also, I know we love a good fragrance, but too much fragrance or synthetic fragrances can be irritating and dry your hair out, okay? Most of the fragrances are made from synthetic chemicals or synthetic ingredients or chemicals. Those are not always good for your hair. And of course, too much silicone. Silicones are good, but again, in moderation. And if you're using a lot of silicone, or you know that you have products that are silicone heavy, then you'll need to use a clarifying shampoo or clarifying rinse to remove that buildup. So again, flip it over and read the label. Get in the habit of reading the label. The first few times you do it, it may seem overwhelming. It might be like, what in the heck is Kendra talking about? I don't understand none of these ingredients. Take out your phone, Google it. Matter of fact, don't even go to the store and do that. Go into your bathroom or your kitchen or wherever you keep your products. Get your favorite products, your favorite 2 to 3 products, and Google the first 5 ingredients of each of those. When you sitting on the couch and you ain't got nothing to do or you bored, instead of scrolling social media, pull those products out and Google search the first 5 ingredients of all of the products that you have a love for, or that you think, or you spent a lot of money on. So I love to tell people that your most expensive products, check the first 5 ingredients. A lot of times you'll be surprised. If the label says that it's moisturizing, but it doesn't show you how it's moisturizing, then put it back. It's probably not moisturizing. If it says it's moisturizing on the label, but then the ingredients don't show any water, put it back. It's not moisturizing. If it says it's a hydrating formula, but the first few ingredients are alcohols and silicones, put it back. You should always start water first. Your hair doesn't need marketing, it needs moisture, especially if you're dealing with dryness. Now, somebody that's not dealing with dryness or doesn't have this issue, this conversation is probably not as relevant to them. So let's revisit clarifying versus moisturizing shampoos. I mentioned that clarifying shampoos are best as like a reset. If you need something that you want to remove any dirt, oil, or buildup, especially after you've worn a protective style for a while. So I like to do an ACV rinse or use a clarifying product if I've worn a protective style or braids, especially for a long period of time and I haven't cleansed my hair and scalp, or, I have customers that wear protective styles a lot and they deal with dry hair, and I ask them, well, what's your process when you remove your hair? And a lot of them are just shampooing and conditioning. And they need to go a little bit deeper on the shampooing part, just because You know, when we have braids and protective styles, honey, we are layering on them oils and gels and all of that, edge controls and all of those things, and they don't go anywhere. Like, you know, you still have to remove that buildup. So a clarifying shampoo would be great for that. So if that's something that you want to try, you look for things that say clarifying, detoxing, deep cleansing. Um, those are going to have a stronger surfactant. Your surfactant is like the sulfate, the thing that removes the dirt. If you have a really flaky or itchy scalp, that could be a sign that you may need to clarify your scalp or cleanse your scalp with something a little bit stronger than your regular shampoo. And anytime you use a clarifying shampoo, you want to make sure you use a deep conditioner afterwards. Now, so let's talk about moisturizing shampoo, because those are going to be important if you have dry hair. All right. This is the one that you can use every day or all the time. Okay. Moisturizing shampoos are the ones that you should reach for on most of your wash days, especially if you've got dry hair or curls that you want to keep from getting stripped. Okay. They leave your hair feeling soft and hydrated. So you want to look for things that say hydrating, sulfate-free, gentle for dry hair, those kinds of things. Any shampoo that says it has aloe vera, honey, glycerin, argan oil, coconut oil, those are going to be good. But again, flip it over, read the label. These are going to be for your regular wash days. You should not be using clarifying shampoos every time you shampoo your hair unless you have been using heavy products every time in between wash days, which most people don't, but it's not unheard of. Okay, some of us use especially the ladies that are naturals, they tend to use a lot of products on their hair to get their curl pattern or to make sure their hair is hydrated and, you know, all of the things. So they have to clarify more frequently than somebody that doesn't. Consistency is going to be better than fancy products. I know it's easy for us to fall for the hype of like miracle growth oils, overnight results, edges back in 5 days. Consistency is going to outwork all of that anytime. Healthy hair doesn't come from a magic bottle, it comes from a steady routine. And one product cannot do it all. So when people ask me like, what's the best oil for 4C hair growth? Like, it doesn't exist. There is no one product that can do it all. You need a routine. That's the point of having a routine, a regimen, a ritual, or whatever you want to call it, is to do these things consistently so that you can maintain whatever growth your hair is already giving you. You want to cleanse, you want to condition, you want to maintain, protect and maintain. So again, making sure you are covering your hair at night, protecting your hair at night, that's going to be key for you. Last but not least, I want to make sure you are protecting the moisture that you are working so hard to maintain or working so hard to get. Especially for my ladies that wear protective styles, wigs, braids, twists, added hair in, those types of things. We have to make sure that we are protecting the hair underneath. So even if you're wearing protective styles, your moisture loss doesn't take a break. Your hair still needs to be cared for even with your protective styles. We mistake protective style as I don't have to do nothing to my hair. I put my hair up in braids, so I don't have to do nothing to it. That is false. You put your hair up in braids, you probably should be doing more to it than you would otherwise. Protective styles can end up becoming harmful because the added hair that we put into our hair to make it fuller or longer or thicker or to braid it up, right? They can actually pull moisture from our hair and scalp. A lot of these synthetic hair companies use heavy metals and toxins in the hair that can strip your hair of its natural oil. A lot of times people have exposed many of these companies because they can cause respiratory issues, organ damage, rash, irritation, different types of dermatitis. And And then not to mention the friction of the hair rubbing against our skin. So not just our hair, if it's touching your skin, your face, your neck, you can get irritation from there as well. Wearing protective styles, we want to make sure we are hydrating our scalp several times a week. Even if you're not wearing protective style, you should be hydrating your scalp several times a week anyway. Just use a light mist or herbal spray directly in them roots, honey. Just get right in them roots. Spray, spray, spray. Do that a couple times a week. That's better than nothing. And then use a gentle oil to seal. So instead of just oiling your scalp, you hydrate your scalp and then you oil it. Use your fingers to massage it in, and then that's it. Wrap it up in a silk or satin something and whatever. Your nighttime protection is going to matter for you. Satin scarf, satin bonnets, silk scarves are going to always be best, okay? Remoisturize midweek only if needed, again with a light mist or leave-in product. Then reseal. So anytime you add moisture, anytime you add water or anytime you hydrate, you have to seal with an oil. That creates the moisture. Remember that. Doing too much manipulation to your hair can also cause you to lose moisture, okay? Or undo the moisture that you're working hard for. No matter how you style your hair, the rule is still the same. If it feels dry, add hydration before you add oil. If you add hydration and you don't add oil, you just wasted product. If you add oil and you don't add hydration, you're just locking in more dryness. So that's it. It's 2 steps. Moisturizing is a 2-step process. So neglecting your hair is the only problem that most of us have with our hair, is that we have neglected it. And neglecting it doesn't mean that we don't do anything to it. Neglecting it means that we don't understand it well enough to do the right things, to do actually what it needs or what it requires, okay? So you can protect your hair and wear protective styles. You can heal your hair without having to show it to the world yet. I tell a lot of women, because they ask, well, Kendra, what am I supposed to do while I'm waiting for my hair to grow back? And my answer is protect it. You can wear your hair however you want to, literally. Just protect it. Keep it protected. Your hair craves moisture. Your hair craves moisture. All right. And so you can do all of that without guilt, without shame, without worrying about what people are going to say if they see your real hair. Trust me, I've heard all the stories. I've lived a lot of those stories. Okay. Your hair just wants you to not neglect it and be consistent. And the other ladies that come back through and watch this video at a later time, the fact that you are even here and have made it this far shows me and should show you that you actually do care about your hair. Okay, you want to make the change to do something different. All right, and that's what's going to matter. So I'm excited. I hope you are getting this information. And again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We're starting another course for the hair rehab one, the one that I have been working on forever and ever and ever. It seems like every time I try to launch that thing, something happens. So I know it's gonna be good, okay? Because something keeps pulling me back to redo it, all right? So I know it's gonna be good once it finally launches. Look, this is what I love to do. I love to teach about hair health, and I love to teach it in a way that's relatable and that's fun and that's not boring and scientific, because I am a nerd at heart. I can break down all the science of things, but people are not interested in that. So I had to figure out a way to make learning interesting, okay? And not just sell products, because I don't like doing that. I make products, but I do not like selling people products. I like to sell people solutions and education, okay? That's going to take you much further than a bottle of hair growth oil. Okay? Take care.